comes in the life of every race when people are driven by echoes of the past to chart a course for an exalted future. Africa is a bliss threshold, as major actors in the Africa arena plots a renaissance towards common destiny. Let's pedal across the streams of yesterday, through the backstreets of Africa, to the defining roles of policymakers, the political realities of the African nation, balance of power, and the strive to sustain national interest and identity. Join us on Network Africa on Channels Television. Network Africa, a rallying point for the emergence of a new Africa.
This week on Network Africa, it's all about making the world a safer place for students, too much spending, thwarting a plan to wreak havoc, and going to outer space. Based on the escalation in the killing of Nigerian students abroad, the House of Representatives has mandated a joint committee to conduct a public hearing on the matter.
A 300-level social science student of University of Cape Coast, Ghana, was brutally killed on the 20th of February, and his lifeless body was found on campus.
Then the South African president is criticized for spending way too much to renovate his home.
In the absence of some of these measures in the security evaluation reports, I had serious difficulty understanding the basis for classifying them as security measures.
Plus, a plan to wreak havoc in Kenya goes south.
It was not just a normal vehicle. The vehicle was carrying 7.62 millimeters rounds of ammunition.
And despite the tension in Egypt, some people are realizing their dreams of going outside of the planet. Welcome to Network Africa with me, Cynthia Are. Let's start things off right here in Nigeria. Concerned about the increase in the number of Nigerian students killed abroad, the House of Representatives has mandated a joint committee to conduct a public hearing on the matter and report back to the House in 2 months. Raising the motion, the chairman of the House Committee on Diaspora, Dabiri-Erewa, says Nigerian students have become endangered species in different parts of the world. The House has also urged Nigerian embassies in Ghana, Malaysia, Russia, the United Arab Emirates, and South Africa to ensure all pending cases are thoroughly investigated.
The House notes the alarming increase in the number of Nigerian students being murdered abroad, worried that our students in search of education abroad have become endangered species. In Ghana, 4 Nigerian students have been killed in mysterious circumstances in the last few months. Further disturbed that just 2 weeks ago, Mr. Godwin Ayogu, a 300-level social science student of University of Cape Coast, Ghana, was brutally killed on the 20th of February, and his lifeless body was found on campus. And in Malaysia, Malaysian police killed one Tunde Adelabu from Ekiti State, a student of Lajendia University in Malaysia. About 80 Nigerian Malaysian students are currently in danger in Malaysia, with no intervention whatsoever so far.
Now, outside of our shores, the trial of the decade continues. At this point, it's a 50-50 chance for the Paralympic star, as a key police ballistics expert says Oscar Pistorius was not wearing his prosthetic legs when he shot his girlfriend as the athlete's trial continued in South Africa. This lends support to the defense team's insistence that the shooting was not premeditated. Mr. Pistorius denies murdering Riva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day 2013, saying he thought she was an intruder. However, the prosecution says he intentionally shot her after an argument. We now bring you this report from our South Africa correspondent, Pt1. She tells us specifically about the happenings on day 11 of the trial, which was the very first time which the mother of the deceased showed up since the proceedings began.
Day 11 of Oscar Pistorius' murder trial saw Riva's mother, June Steenkamp, attending for the second time since the trial began. First on the stand was Sean Patrick Rents, a firearms services provider from whom Oscar tried to acquire a number of firearms, including a Smith & Wesson 500 revolver and a pump-action shotgun. The contract for the purchase of 7 firearms was cancelled after Riva was killed in February last year. Mr. Rents also went through the firearms competency questionnaire on the guidelines for the use of lethal force in the face of a seeming threat, to which Pistorius had responded all correctly. In cross-examination, Advocate Barry Wu had Mr. Rents admitting that there was no established link between a love for the collection of firearms and recklessness. The second witness for the day was Warrant Officer Byron van Staden, who took the court through most of the pictures in the 15 crime scene albums he had produced. As the pictures of a blood-drenched Pistorius appeared on the screen, Riva's mother left the court, while the Paralympic athlete bowed his head with his hands covering his face. After lapses in forensic protocol by the police were revealed during cross-examination last week, Warrant Officer van Staden appeared surer of his conduct during questioning by the defense counsel, who asked for more time to examine his evidence. Warrant Officer van Staden is expected to produce the PR, or primal residue test kit, he used on the accused, as well as the memory stick containing all the pictures he took of the crime scene on the day, not just those he placed in the album, as his cross-examination continues on Tuesday. From the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria, South Africa, I'm Pt1 reporting for Channels Television News.
More from South Africa now. The President Jacob Zuma is being slammed by critics for using way too much money to give his home a makeover. The amount, which is $23 million, was state-funded and was for a security upgrade to his private home that included a swimming pool, cattle enclosure, and amphitheater. As a consequence, he might have to repay costs for some of the unnecessary renovations.
Public Protector Thuli Madonsela accused the South African President Jacob Zuma of conduct inconsistent with his office. She's asked him to repay a reasonable part of the cost of the unnecessary renovations, which also included a chicken run and a swimming pool that had been justified as firefighting equipment.
Having listened to the submissions and measured these against the measures in private homes of previous presidents, and in the absence of some of these measures in the security evaluation reports, I had serious difficulty understanding the basis for classifying them as security measures.
The 444-page summary of the 2-year investigation into the renovations at Zuma's sprawling homestead painted a picture of systemic government incompetence and flouting of normal tender procedures. Could this further damage the image of the already scandal-plagued Zuma and his ruling African National Congress in the forthcoming elections? Well, it's a 50-50 chance.
However, I found no reason why these measures were located near the private residence rather than a central place that could have benefited the entire impoverished Nkandla community.
Madonsela, who has become famous in South Africa for exhaustive investigations into government graft, described the cost overruns as exponential and said ministers had handled the project in an appalling manner.
The installations envisaged in the name of security are items you are likely to find at a security shop or company regulated by the security industry regulator, and not the kind of construction work done under the rubric of the Department of Human Settlements or the built industry.
The Ministers of Public Works, of Police and of Defense have taken full responsibility and accountability for this project, and through the government investigation have unearthed issues of corruption and maladministration involved in this project.
When news of the security upgrade first broke in late 2009 in the media, the cost was estimated at $6.1 million. However, despite intense public scrutiny, the bill ballooned to $23 million as the project and its costs spiraled out of control. The total spending amounted to 8 times the estimated present-day value of securing the home of the late Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first black president. It is also more than 1,000 times that spent on Frederick de Klerk, the white president who stepped down in 1994 after the first all-race elections that signaled the end of apartheid. Madonsela's report, entitled Secure in Comfort, says public work funds had to be diverted from inner-city regeneration projects to carry out the upgrade on Zuma's home.
A number of the measures, including buildings and other items constructed and installed by the DPW at the President's private residence, went beyond what was reasonably required for his security. Some of these measures can be legitimately classified as unlawful, and acts involved constitute improper conduct and maladministration. I also find that the National Key Points Act was not complied with, particularly the declaration of the minister, which specifically asked the president to pay.
The report also criticized the placing of a medical clinic and police facilities inside the gated compound, saying they could have been moved outside for the benefit of the public in what is one of the poorest regions of Africa's wealthiest country. Despite voter concerns about graft and sloppy public services, the ANC is almost certain to win the May 7 election, handing the 71-year-old Zuma another 5 years at the helm. The extent of his unpopularity in urban areas was highlighted by the boos that greeted him at a memorial to Nelson Mandela at Johannesburg's Soccer City Stadium in December, although he still enjoys huge support in the countryside. The government had previously gone to court to try to prevent Madonsela from releasing her findings on the grounds that they might jeopardize Zuma's security. The challenge was dropped after Madonsela made it clear that there was no threat.
After the break, there's good news as a plan to wreak havoc in Kenya goes terribly wrong. Join me again in a moment for the details.